Hi everyone, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. I am gonna do this book, Practice Makes Perfect, for my reading journal. And I just showed you what I sketched out because I have decided to recreate the book cover and I'm excited. I'm excited to try this, and it could either turn out awesome or it could turn out to be a hot mess. But I just thought it would be so fun to recreate it, and I have some stamp sets that will work perfect to add the flowers to the shelves. And I started off by doing everything in pencil off camera because I wasn't even sure if this is going to work or that I was going to like it, and then I could just erase it if I didn't like it and come up with a different idea. But I loved it, so I decided to go with it, and I am tracing over everything in pen, and I'm even going to do the top portion, like the beige top portion of the I'm assuming it's the top of the flower store on the book cover. And I totally drew not great curved lines, but that's okay. Whatever. It's going to work out great. And yeah, I'm going to keep going with it. I tested out all of my pink markers and I found one that is close enough to the shelves. It's a little darker than I wanted, but that's okay. And apparently I do not know how to stay in the lines, so that was a good practice to try to stay in the lines because I just was having the hardest time staying in the lines. I also decided to add a second line to the vertical portion of my shelves. That way it was similar to the book cover since I only had one line. And then I can fill that in as well with my marker. And as you can see, I had to go back in and fill in some spots that I didn't completely cover. But I'm still excited to see how this is all going to come together. And I'd love to know in the comment section if you have read this book, and if not, I think you totally should. It's a fantastic romance book, not as steamy as some other books, but it's really a great story about mental health and social anxiety and two very lovable characters who had a lot of fantastic personal growth in this book. And I think that that was something that they got from each other, just helping each other grow personally, despite being opposites. So I filled in the top of my... So now I'm going to add some hash marks to the top of my flower shop, and I try to go the same way with all of the lines, but once I turn my book journal, I accidentally go the wrong way on a few lines, but that's okay. Not going to really notice in the long run. So once I get those all done, I can grab my flower stamps and go ahead and start building my flower shop. And I'm just, like I said, I'm excited to see how this will work out. And I'm always looking for different ways to use my stamps to not only complete my projects, but to document my books. So this stamp set is from Studio Calico, and if it's still available, I will link it in the description box. But it has all these amazing flower pots and flowers, and so I am using those to add to my shelves. I'm not going to add vases to every single shelf. That way there's some breathing room, and I also know that I want to add some stamped phrases as well. I will grab tons of different ink colors to add in the different colors of flowers and also the stems. I'm trying to do the stems in a variety of green colors. You can see I have 3 right there. And I'm just adding them in different spots. And once I have those all filled in, I can go back in and add in the flowers. I do decide to add in like almost like a planter box. And you can see here, I'm kind of filling it in to make it more of a square shape. I just wanted to have one really big kind of planter box, so that's why I stamped 2 of the vases right next to each other and then used my black pen to fill it in. And it turned out fantastic. You can't even tell that it was 2 different separate images. And I decided to say hi as I'm making this video, so I hope you enjoyed. For the flowers, I chose yellows and oranges and pinks. So I will add those to the tops of my stems, and this is turning out amazing. This is probably one of the most fun reading journal spreads I've done, maybe all year. I don't know, but it is so fun. So using all these different inks to stamp the different flowers, and I love it. It's turning out so good. I'm also going to add some flowers down in the bottom corners, just like the book cover. Like the book cover, it looks like to me, it's a bunch of poppies kind of blooming up from the ground. So I'm going to use one of those stem flowers and kind of stack it so that way it can give the illusion of almost taller flowers. You can see here how I'm doing it. I'm just stacking them right on top of each other, and then I kind of gives that illusion that it's taller. It's a taller stem, to me at least. I'll pretend it's that way. And then I will get the poppy stamp and go ahead and stamp that. I'd also love to know in the comment section what you guys are reading right now. I am reading Manatee Summer, which is a middle grade book, and I'm also listening to We Believed in Mermaids. I think that's the title, but it's an audiobook and it's about sisters. So that is what I'm reading and listening to. So I'd love to know what you're reading and listening to. So I went and hunted for a brown micron pen because I wanted to give the flowers some centers, and I found one. And so now I can add some centers to all the flowers, and I'm so glad I found that micron because it really added the little like realistic touch that I wanted. I also stamped Life in Full Bloom on one of the empty shelves on the right hand side, and I stamped When in Doubt, Add Flowers over on the left hand side. So love adding the little bit of stamped phrases, and I did a flip up for my Practice Makes Perfect just because I know that I'm going to have a lot of quotes, and I don't know if I'm going to have like enough room for the synopsis and my thoughts because I did this shelves, but we'll see. I do think I'm just going to go with a ton of quotes. So the synopsis is Annie Walker is the small town florist in Rome, Kentucky. She dreams of having a committed relationship, but after a date calls her boring, it leaves her questioning her ability to find someone. Enter Will Griffin, who is sexy, full of tattoos, and tough, considering he's bodyguard to pop star Amelia Rose. He is here to do a job and then get out of the small town. But he finds himself accepting an offer from Annie to be a helper for practice dating, and there's even some tutoring lessons. Soon, Annie and Will discover there is more beneath the surface. Will has more depth and meaning behind his no relationship rule. Annie will need to rethink what perfect and committed is, and together they will find each other and learn that love finds you in unexpected places. So, and there's also some steamy practicing going on. I just loved, like I said earlier, how these two were kind of opposites, but really helped each other grow personally. So I loved this book, and I just found it to be so sweet and such a wonderful book. And I related to Annie so much. So once I have the synopsis all done, I'm going to go ahead and find some quotes, and I found a ton of quotes. So I am going to include some underneath the flip up. So the first quote I have is, "It seems to me, Annie, that you were just waiting for someone to give you permission to be yourself out loud." Which, again, I relate to that, right? Being an introvert, Annie is very much an introvert and has some social anxiety and just anxiety in general. The second quote I have is, "Will Griffin is absolutely not the kind of man I need. Too bad he's very quickly becoming the man I need." So that's that one. And then I will move on to the inside cover where I'll add some more quotes. So really fun to add all the quotes, because if you guys have been around here a while, you know that every week I'm like, I could have put in 5 more quotes. And now this week I am putting in all the quotes. I stamped my rating, and this time I did not add in a box. I just put right next to it the book number and the genre. So the book number I will have to count, and the genre I put contemporary romance, but I also added in mental health. So I think it has, to me, it has mental health aspects. I went back and counted the number that I had for the book, which is going to be 57 out of 100. So that is the number, and then once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and jot down my thoughts about the book, even though you guys kind of already know my thoughts, but I'm going to share them with you here. I said that I related to Annie so much, her worry, self-doubt, and even her comfort in books. I felt like Annie and Will may have been opposites, but their chemistry was so good, and their banter with each other was low-key, but it's just special. And I loved how these two finding each other helped them deal with their grief, understanding love and emotions and expectations. I loved the small town charm, and I loved how even though Will was this tough kind of tough bad guy character or persona, he was still able to communicate and like be in touch with his emotions, which is really cool to see in a main character. And I also enjoyed just the topic of anxiety being discussed. Okay, so now I'm going to flip open this, and I'm actually going to add the quotes, but I do need to peel up this flip up so that way I can add some more quotes to the top of it. So the next quote I choose is, "I'm terrified to admit that holding her in my arms is the closest I've come to feeling truly happy in a very long time." So that's that quote. And the next one is, "Please just let me be here. I don't know why, but I can't be anywhere else. I tried, but my feet keep bringing me back here." So love that. And this Practice Makes Perfect is actually the second book in the series. The first one I think is called When in Rome, and I don't know if you have to read them in order. I didn't, so I don't know why I didn't read When in Rome, but I probably will go back and read that. It's about Annie's older brother, I believe. The last quote I have is, "Annabelle, I need you to know I've fallen madly in love with you." And then Annie responds saying, "But you don't believe in love." And then Will says, "It was easier to say I don't believe in love rather than admitting to myself that I was afraid I wouldn't be loved back." So that kind of gives you some insight into Will and what he thinks about love. I picked out a few stamped phrases to use, and then one had too much script on it, so I decided not to use that. And then another one said small happiness or small something, small joys, but it turned out to be like a black blob. You can see it over in the left-hand side, so I'm going to cover that up in a second. I added some flowers to the bottom of the flip up, which I think turned out fantastic, and I also added in some stamped phrases from Everyday Explorers like "better together," "love us," and "quality time." And then "you really get me," that will cover up the black blob basically over on the left hand side. And then that will wrap up this spread, and I had so much fun putting this together and coming up with this idea of how I can document this book. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I'd love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. Have a great day. Bye.